I have so many things to say about her. I'm very excited to see a girl in the cowl.
Are you talking about casting it?
No, I'm not there. I don't have my eye on anybody. I feel like I'm creating this character. I'm in a dialogue with her, and then we'll see who joins that later on.
No name in mind that you thought of for the part?
I doubt it'll be a name. I think this is somewhere where you go and find Batgirl and then you cast her.
So someone that audiences don't look at and say, we know that person, you want it to be a fresh face, and just think of focusing on the character?
I mean, I'm not against movie stars. They're great, but you need somebody who's going to be just right. And in a situation like this, the name carries a lot of weight, so it's not as critical, so definitely Vin Diesel.
You have to appreciate that Vin Diesel joke. That'd be the most terrifying version of Batgirl ever. Tumblr, get on that. That'd just be horrific. So what I'm going to do is I'll explain more about what he said about the Batgirl movie. He teased that he was actually talking to DC about a different project when they came up with the idea to do the Batgirl movie, in the story that's largely going to inform that, which I believe will take mostly from the Batgirl of Burnside, but they're not going to do an exact comic book story, which I'll explain. And DC also dropped a new Superman promo for the Justice League movie that's coming this November. So I'll also explain how Batgirl fits into the context of the DCEU in the Justice League movie, because they haven't even cast her, they're still writing the movie. But the Nightwing movie, all these other things that they're doing, they all connect with Justice League. So it sounds way more complicated than it actually is, but if you're new to the channel, there is a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway going on. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video, starting with Joss Whedon's Batgirl. Mostly what he's talking about is in not casting a big name, which I'm all for. Like, you don't want someone to overshadow the role. It's sort of the opposite approach that Marvel's taking with Captain Marvel casting Brie Larson, who's an amazing actress, but I just feel like with all the stuff that's been going on, the drama and the DCEU, they're better off casting an unknown, because most of the focus now is going on with Justice League and Wonder Woman, these high-profile characters, so they can kind of sneak in Batgirl on the DL and make a surprise sleeper hit. So a lot of that goes into what version of her character she is, because there's been a lot of different Batgirl stories. She's been Oracle for a big period in the comics. The New 52 retconned some of those things and turned her into more of a college-age Batgirl, which I think is basically where they're going, because they're doing a Nightwing movie and it'll be a relatively middle-aged version of the character. Think about Batman being in his 40s, so you have to imagine that Nightwing is 20 plus years younger. Batgirl will have parity with him, and they even have a romantic history, a very long romantic history in the comics. Maybe they'll choose to do that on screen. Usually stuff like that is implied, like they had a relationship at one point, but they're estranged now. It just becomes part of the drama of the universe. So maybe Nightwing can cameo in Batgirl, and Batgirl can cameo in the Nightwing movie. But because they just announced the director of the Nightwing movie right before they announced Joss Whedon for Batgirl, there's still so much stuff that they haven't decided yet. They're still writing the stories of both of those movies. And just to chart this in the timeline, if you're wondering like when we're actually going to see this movie talking about Batgirl, the Captain Marvel movie is a good benchmark for that. They're getting ready to shoot that early next year. If they've been working on the script for that for the last year or so, and they just found the director, and Captain Marvel isn't shooting till early next year, that gives you an idea of how far out it's going to be before they start shooting the Batgirl movie. So even if Joss Whedon finishes his script by the end of the year and they find their actress early next year, they probably won't start shooting at the earliest till the end of next year, meaning it'd be late 2019, early 2020 before we actually see the Batgirl movie. And it all just depends on how long it takes them to finish the script and find the actress. So like he says in his interview, he's going to find his Batgirl on the page first, and then they'll find the right actress for that. So what I expect is that they'll have some more news about Nightwing and Batgirl at Comic-Con, but they'll still be working on those very early stages. I'd be very surprised if they announced who the actors are going to be for those movies. Most of their Comic-Con will be spent hyping up Justice League proper in the Aquaman movie, but a 20-something post-Killing Joke Batgirl. So if you didn't read the New 52 version of Batgirl, you're like, hey, wait a minute, isn't she in a wheelchair? How can she be Batgirl if the Joker took her ability to walk? So when they did the New 52 reboot way back in 2011, what they did with the Batgirl character is they said that she still went through that But because they wanted to get her out of the wheelchair, what they did is they said that she went through extensive rehab, had a lot of medical treatments, and was slowly able to overcome her disability. She moved out of her apartment into the Burnside area of Gotham, one of the more affordable places that young people live in Gotham City that isn't crime alley and just riddled with crack dealers everywhere. But she's in school, she puts back on the cape and cowl, becomes the Batgirl persona again, and it becomes sort of like a Daredevil type, street level version of Batman that's localized to the Burnside neighborhood. So whereas Batman appears in like 70 billion comics and goes all over the globe tackling villains, Batgirl in the New 52 in this Burnside storyline mostly stays localized to Burnside, fighting criminals localized to that borough of the city. So the arc of like the first volume of that comic was all about her reestablishing her identity, finding out who she was after she got out of the wheelchair, making a name for herself, establishing herself in the community as a hero that likes to help people. And yes, there are a couple villains that she punches in the face, but the true villain of that story is really herself, something that she did that comes back to haunt her. So without giving away too much, the villain of that story throws her past at her and makes her confront it so she's able to move past it. So she grows as a person. It's a really artful way to show how even though she's experienced all this tragedy, she's been wounded physically, she spent a large portion of her life in a wheelchair, she was able to conquer that, and DC didn't like all wipe it away and say that it never happened. If you watch Jessica Jones, it's kind of like that. Way more interesting, way more complicated version of the Batgirl character. So that's part of what attracted Joss Whedon to the project. And you wonder, like, if he was talking to DC about another project when they came up with this, what was that other project? During that Batgirl comic, though, there was only very brief Batman family Nightwing crossover, so I'm hoping that for the Nightwing movie, they draw more from Rebirth era, but there's always a lot of stuff that they pull from way back in the original origins of the character. And there's all this talk of doing a Teen Titans movie, so that's all floating in the background. That might have been the other project that Joss Whedon was talking about, maybe doing Teen Titans after they do the Nightwing movie, but we can talk about that when they announce more stuff. The Superman promo is the other big thing. So what's happening here is that they're trying to market the film in a really weird way with this website where they're releasing new content. If you remember the Deadpool Core that Fox did, that was sort of a website they used to release content via email. It's kind of what they're doing with Justice League. So to announce this, they posted this Superman promo with the Justice League, and it's like, hey, wait a minute. This isn't like the version that you posted a little while ago before the trailer came out. Why is Superman front and center? Well, what they did is the website that they built had like this secret code built into it that would reveal Superman eventually. And as you can probably imagine, they're just waiting to openly market him because they're trying to keep up the facade that he's still dead and hasn't come back yet, because nobody knows what his role during the movie is going to be. There's been a couple kryptonite-laced rumors that'll make you want to punch your monitor about what they're going to do with Superman during the film. I don't totally believe them, but what I think will happen is by the time we get to Comic-Con, they will be openly marketing Superman as part of all their press materials. Whether or not he winds up in a trailer remains to be seen, because I think that would give away too much about what his role in the movie is going to be, and it all goes back into like a big surprise that people might not be expecting. But circling back around to Batgirl, so there's that moment in the Justice League trailer where Gordon says to Batman, it's good to see you working with others again. So clearly he's talking about the Batman family, he's talking about the Nightwing character, he's talking about Batgirl, really anybody else that you think that they might work into the Justice League movies. Batman's worked with a lot of people in the past. So it's a very open-ended comment, but obviously not everybody is going to make it into the DCEU. So what'll probably happen is that instead of sticking her in the big Justice League team-up movies, you'll see her in the other Batman family movies. Maybe not the Batman, the one that Matt Reeves is working on for Ben Affleck, because they're so far along in that. And Batgirl just recently came about, and what a crazy thought. This is totally unconfirmed, but wouldn't it be nuts if the movie that they were talking to him about, not Teen Titans like I was thinking earlier, but maybe the Batman movie before they had locked down Matt Reeves, because Joss Whedon is totally a bigger get than Matt Reeves. And talking about the Joker, just because he's such a big Batman character, a lot of you saw this picture that Jared Leto posted and were like, hey, what does this mean? What's going on? So if you didn't know, Jared Leto is going to continue to be the Joker in the DCEU. They haven't completely decided how they're going to use him. I think the less of him, the better. You still use the Joker because he's a big character, but all things in moderation. So if he does appear during the Batgirl movie, hopefully it's just a very brief flashback for Killing Joke references like, hey, this is what happened to Batgirl in the DCEU past. But as for present villains, there's just so many people in Batman's rogues gallery that you could have her go up against that it'd be much better to see new characters than to just recycle the old ones that you've seen in Suicide Squad and the big Justice League movie over and over again. So let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with Batgirl and Nightwing inside the DCEU? Just remember that they've already shot Justice League, so I'm not expecting to see Nightwing or Batgirl actually pop up in those movies. So leave all your requests for DC videos in the comments below. I know it's a big Flash week because it's coming back, but I have a new Injustice winner to name. So congratulations to Ella Dago. You win a pre-order copy of Injustice 2. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. While you wait for that next video, click here for brand new Flash, and you can click here for brand new Black Panther. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys in the next video.